Well, it was an area that needed some clarification. Let me explain to you. Mm-hmm. The committee has 15 members, and I am struck by the attitude around the table. We have challenges, we have difficulties, we have different opinions, but we have worked them through in such a mature and measured way. Eventually, you will have your arguments, of course, mm-hmm. That is to be expected, and sometimes sharp exchanges. But in the final analysis, there is a degree of consensus. And I think it's important for me to state this, because we are embarking on one of the most significant things that we have done as a country since 1962.
Yes.
All these recommendations that we make, firstly have to go to the cabinet and then to the people. So they will be the ones who will vote in a referendum and say yes or no to the proposals. So when one of the things that we have agreed that we would submit is that Jamaica cease to become a monarchy. So we will transition to a republic. Now the president will be the head of state, and part of our discussion is what it will be the nature of this presidency.
Yes.
Having regard to the discussions which have been taken place for over a long time, and the latest being the Joint Select Committee of 1995. After much discussion and consultation, it was agreed then that there would be a ceremonial presidency rather than an executive presidency. We came now to the issue of how would we elect that ceremonial. Let me not call it ceremonial, that our new head of state, mm-hmm. or president.
Yes.
And some discourse took place around that, because the first suggestion was by a simple majority. Now, if you have it by a simple majority, then what you are in effect saying is that the government should select the president, because you couldn't form a government unless you had a simple majority,
right.
50+1.
Mm-hmm.
And I confess, I in particular, I wanted to see a signal sent to the country. You see, we would have come to this place arising out of a referendum. And in a referendum, both political parties would have had to go to the public with the same message. That in itself is extremely significant, because it's almost as though we have to join hands on this one. I felt that if we were able to do that, and the people would respond by agreeing in a referendum, we should go further. We should have a joint sitting to elect that president. So all of us would be in the parliament. Now, take note, Richie B., that at the moment, we sit together as a joint house when we have the ceremonial opening of parliament. That's where you will see us all together.
Yes.
And if a visiting head of state comes to Jamaica, and we are asked to come together. But we have never really come together to take a vote. And my view was that let us signal to the country that it's a new type. We are building a new nation, and demonstrate to them how both political parties can actually be together, work together, to united in the same goal. Mm-hmm. However, after we had these deliberations, there was a concern which was raised as to how the vote, not internally, not within the committee. The committee had rejected a simple majority. We had gone forward to say 2/3. There was a concern which was expressed over the weekend, that the protection of the 2/3 vote of the Senate had been agreed by both political parties over the years. And it was protection from one person dominating. So here as we have it, we have 63 members in the House, and we have 49 belonging to one political party. So, in effect, it was said that if we had a 2/3 of the vote, we would be giving the government the right to appoint a president, and it was important that both the opposition and the government agreed on this. So this is why I actually issued that statement.
Okay. Is this a major...
But I also need to say that it is not that the minister... I had spoken to the minister about the concerns, and she had said she would reopen it for debate. I think that we are going to get consensus on it. I really feel that is the atmosphere in the room, as I have said. I don't think it's going to be a major sticking point. Mm-hmm. But I also want to say this, Richie B. If the leader of opposition and the prime minister are required to have true consultation and agreement, we will not have any discord during the voting. And for me, this is important. For me, this is important because I don't think we should have any disagreement about who is the right person to occupy that position.
Yeah.
I think the leader of opposition and the prime minister should sit in that room and identify the person who can lead us as president.
It would send a really good signal to the nation.
Mm-hmm. You know, it's time, Richie B. Maybe I'm not a real politician, but I believe that the only way that you can change the attitude of persons to politicians, and the only way you can really involve them in processes, is to demonstrate that you are prepared to govern differently. Mm-hmm. That there are some issues that you are prepared to take out of a partisan space and look and say, what would the people like? In this regard, who would the people approve of? You understand?
Yes.
So I think that there has to be an agreement. And the view was expressed in that room. The prime minister wouldn't choose somebody who would be offensive to the country. They wouldn't go, a PNP prime minister wouldn't choose somebody who is a PNP activist, nor would a JLP prime minister choose somebody who is a JLP activist. And I think these are important things that the country must hold the political parties to account on.
Senator, speaking of the prime minister, what would be the role of the prime minister in the appointment of the president?
Well, let's look at it presently. The prime minister really nominates the governor general. And then there notifies, usually writes to the opposition and says, this is the person I've selected. The role which is envisioned for them in the selection of a president is that there is going to be consultation. And so the prime minister will nominate the person. But there will be discussion and consultation with the leader of opposition for them to arrive at an agreement. In fact, interestingly, in our discourses, we have looked at what happens if there is no consensus about the president. Who is the president? What happens if we have the vote and there is no consensus, which I would hate, by the way? Then we have to set out recommendations for the different steps which will be taken in those circumstances. How do you, if there are circumstances when you need an interim president, how would you
approach it?